Kane, how much good advice have you seen on LinkedIn?
No, very little, very little.
But it always gets a lot of likes, right?
Mm, That's true.
A lot of likes, a lot of comments. Is it usually by the people who are writing the checks and making the hires?
That's the point, right? Absolutely not.
And that's why we're doing this episode. This is coming from, we spend all day every day. We own over half a dozen recruiting companies. We deal with executive hiring committees and HR all day every day. So this is kind of that perspective of what we see, what HR and executives are looking for. Along with, we own another company called Employment Boost, and you'll see a link in the top comment down there if you want to check out Employment Boost. But we do resume writing, career coaching, college planning, and all that fun stuff. But we try to get away from this. You see kind of like ideal content on the internet that says, hey, work less and work life balance, for example. And that often goes against what people are trying to do, such as like climb the ladder fast, Kane.
Right.
Have you ever tried to work less and climb faster?
No, I don't think that works.
Yeah. So that's like, this is, if you came to Employment Boost for coaching, if you came to my house and we cracked open a bottle of wine and want to talk about what you need to do in 2022, this is the type of insights that I would give you. And well, you know me long enough, Kane. You already know this stuff, but
Yeah. Yeah.
um, the first one, and I think it's an episode we did on another channel, is the concept of getting into the office. Now, on the executive recruiting side, if excuse me, if a client has two candidates in front of them, all things are equal, and one wants to work remote and one wants to come in the office, who do you think is going to get hired?
Yeah. The one that comes into the office.
As much as there's a big push to work from home, that's coming from the employee side. That's often not coming from the company, from the leadership, from management, the hiring managers.
Mhm.
So I always say, if you know the rules of the game and you don't play to win and then you lose, that's your fault. So right now, I see it as an opportunity that if you don't mind going to the office, get in the office. It's already going to make you more visible and put yourself as a front runner ahead of everybody else. I know that a lot of people don't want to hear that because everyone's all about working from home right now. But, we're doing this type of content because we're trying to help people that are really trying to get somewhere. There's nothing wrong with working from your home and doing your job well every day. But that probably is going to slow down your career progression. I assume you agree.
I don't even think it's probably. I think it definitely will, especially if you're kind of fresher into the job market. There's a reason why we throw people kind of into the deep end when they go off to college, right? Like the remote college experience probably isn't as efficient about getting people up to speed to be in a frame of mind to learn. It's the same with work and offices. You throw yourself into this environment to where you can learn the culture of the organization, learn how to deal with groups, deal with clients, deal with all that kind of stuff. And it's just the acceleration or the pace is much faster when you're in it every single day versus in your home, in front of a computer. You're right. There's nothing wrong with it, but there's a reason why I think you can move the pace up a lot if you get into the office.
You make an interesting point of, if you go off to college, you go off to college for the college experience, and doing college, virtually is not the same. So if I say, don't go to college on campus, do it virtual, people will say, well, you miss out on the college experience. Well,
Right.
why is it any different than work? Well, you're missing out on the work experience. Like
Right. Yeah.
going into the office and building rapport with teammates and understanding what makes people tick and learning empathy and how people move and how people work. It's no different, right? So I always, I figured out how I had so much success in my 20s and, parlayed that into starting multiple companies and all that stuff. Is I looked at what my customer wanted or what my boss wanted, And that's what I gave them. It's, it's so we want to walk into companies these days and go, me, 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 me. And then when we're not getting pushed up the ladder, we can't figure out why. I always walked into a customer site or walked into work looking at my boss. It's like, what can I do? And if I
Mhm.
know they want me in the office and they need this, this, and this, and that's what I do. That's playing the game to win. So that covers number one. Number two, do more when everyone else is doing less. It's number one and number two is almost guaranteed success for you in 2022.
Yeah.
All the advice online is work from home, screw your boss, man, work life balance,
Yeah.
you
4 day
know,
work week, 3 day work week.
3-day work week, 4-day work week, 32 hours. If you flip that script and instead of working from home, if you go into the office and show up and tell your boss, it's like I'll do whatever you need me to do. If you need me to stay late, I'll stay late. You need me to come in Saturday, I'll come in Saturday. If you want to go just crush everybody, that's it. Assuming you can do your work well and you're a good, dependable person, that's all you got to do because everyone else is trying to do less and less. Have you seen companies saying, "Hey, we want everyone to do less, and we'll pay you more"?
Yeah. No.
Yeah, it doesn't work, right? And that's kind of what I've been giving insights to friends and family. It's like right now, every employer, and I know a lot of people that own businesses. We're talking to people that are signed in front of the checks. Um, they're not looking for people that want to work from home. They want someone that wants to come in the office and build something, to be a part of something, to be a part of the conversation. And there's certainly what company out there isn't looking for people who want to do more. They want to do more work, be productive. When they're done, raise their hand, ask for more, progress, learn new skills. One and two alone, you don't need the other three. Just do those two in 2022 and you're going to be ahead of everybody else. It's wasn't Congress talking about a 32-hour work week or something?
Right. Yeah.
It's like, well, that's what Europe does. And then I looked at, my friends over in Europe, the lack of startups in Europe and entrepreneurial spirit, the high unemployment, and it's like, yeah, no thanks. I'm good. Right? Like, I'm not saying we gotta work 60 hours a week, but we keep kind of lowering the bar and we expect more, but we don't get more. And then you're,
Yeah.
10, 15 years into your career and you're like, well, I'm not where I want to be. Well, how did it work out for you? So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's my new thing about all content that I see written that I think is kind of like asinine. You just want to come back like 5 years later and say, how's that working out for you? How's
Yeah.
how's how's that working out for you? Let's see. Number three, learn something new. What's something new you learned lately, Kane?
Uh, Video editing. Let's do that.
Well, that sounds painful.
No, that's good fun. It's good fun.
It's one of those things that if you're the same person this year as you were last year, you're toast. And
Right.
I think we look at our parents' generation, and you were able to get a job and basically do that job for 30 or 40 years, and you're good. You didn't have to learn anything else. Things were kind of static if you look at the 50s, 60s, 70s. 90s come along, technology flips the whole game upside down, and then things are more competitive. You know, the whole world's competing against each other now, right? Before you're just kind of like states were competing against each other.
Yeah. Yep.
So to know that you have to keep progressing, you can't come out of college and say I'm done. Like this 4-year degree is going to get me by for the next 40 years. It's not. It might not even get you your first job, to be honest. So we talk about taking master classes just to get inspiration, whether you're always going back and taking additional classes or getting certifications, learning any new skill, picking up some books. Okay, and it comes down to, do you want to pay somebody more money who doesn't add to the conversation or takes away to the conversation, or those who add to the conversation?
Right. Easy answer.
Easy answer, because when you're talking to executives, who doesn't want someone in the boardroom on a conference call in a meeting who's adding to the conversation, that's adding to the solution? not keeping a chair warm, or taking the conversation backwards. So bringing new ideas to the table, understanding new technologies, new way of doing things. It's like you cross train your career just like you do sports. You could be learning stuff all over the place if you choose to. But I think a lot of times is we can't do that during work hours, then we don't want to do it at all.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great point.
And it's like, no, you're responsible for your career. You hope the company invests in you, but if you got to take a class at night, that's on your watch. If you got to read that book at night, that's on your watch. If you want to do that master class on a Sunday, that's on your watch. Nobody's really responsible for your life other than yourself. And if you're not investing in yourself, why do you expect other people to invest in you?
Yeah. Right. Who's gonna look after you?
There's no one looking after you but you. So, and then, when they don't, you get mad and go, oh, XYZ, then invest in me. So you didn't want to invest in yourself.
Yeah.
That's one of those things. You look at the concept on the startup companies. It's like, if you go all in with me, I'll go all in with you. But it can't be a one-way street. So,
yeah,
we'll move on to number 4. This is a tough one people are struggling with right now. Stick around and build something. Like the 4, I'm not saying 4. I know quite a few wealthy people, but I would say the successful people I know that gained wealth or were successful taking the corporate route, they stuck around for 7-10 years or more. I'll use the example of someone I know that been at the same company for 20 years. Only company he's ever worked at, but by 30 something, he was running the place, making an ungodly amount of money. And he does whatever he wants. If he wants to work from home for a month, he does. He wants to go in the office, he does. He does whatever he wants, and he's making like mid 6 figures. By 40 years old, a multi-millionaire, but he helped build it. And it kind of gives you like a special privilege, right? I was here to take it from 5 million to 125 million.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see that kind of commitment anymore. And he'll straight up say he's thought about leaving, but he's like, even if I jumped, I've never seen anyone reach this level of success. So what was the point of jumping?
Right.
And it's another good friend worked for his brother worked for the largest home builder in the country. Stuck around 7-10 years, cashed out a bunch of stock, helped build that thing up. Went to the next place. He stuck around 8 more years. So right there came like almost 20 years between 2 companies. His 2 cash outs on those 2, he retired. Imagine when you could retire like early 40s.
Yeah. Yep.
Because he stuck around and helped build something. This bouncing around every 9-12 months, what you never master a skill. You never really get to know anybody. You don't stick around and say, hey, I'm here to see this thing through. And then you see those people bounce around. We see this at Employment Boost all the time. You got 7-8 jobs in 10 years, and you can't figure out why no one wants to hire you.
Right.
It's okay if you got a company that's growing or you see a career path, stick with it. And it's like LinkedIn says, it's okay to hop around. Screw the companies. Well, remember those people giving you those insights aren't going to pay your bills later on. And what I always do is I start clicking on profiles. It's like, okay, this person's got 2,500 likes on their post, and I click on their profile, and they've never managed anybody in their life before. They never ran a company. They never managed anyone. They never had P&L responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, they've never been responsible for anyone other than themselves. 2,500 likes on that post. And it's like, yeah, these aren't the kind of people I'm listening to. If you sit down at a table of people that really have things going on, they laugh at this kind of stuff. So we can look at the successful people and say, I see what you did there. And then we go do the opposite, and we can't figure out why it didn't work.
Yeah, right. Great point.
I don't say don't stick around somewhere that's going down, that is terrible, and you have no progress. But if the company has some legs and there's opportunity there, sometimes the best opportunity is right in front of your face.
And I
But do
also
you
think
think
that sometimes people underestimate the amount of effect that they can have. So if they get very, very good at what they do, regardless of what that thing is within the functions of an organization, you could be the that one cog in the wheel that actually helps the company go somewhere. So just get very, very good at what you do. I think it goes back to your mastering your craft thing.
if you add more value at your company, you make more money?
Mm-hmm.
So there's this. It's been a very big thing the last 5, 7 years. It's just running to the next job, running to the next job, running to the next job. And it's like, are you running? Are you running away from something? Or are you running to something? That's a question people often ask when you see job hoppers. Like, what do you? Hey, does the running not get tiring at some point? Do you not get tired of running? Always starting over a new job where you don't know what's going on, you don't know anybody that's here, you don't know the processes, the customers, the cycles. Does that not get tiring at some point? And because can they say it takes you 2 years before you really get your roots in and really start to excel at a company. This is when you understand the economic cycles, the sales cycles, the customers, the products, the ups and downs, and everything with it. Most people never stick around long enough to even get to that point. And it's like, well, I wasn't climbing fast enough. Look, you're not going to get title bumps 2 or 3 times a year. It's I don't know where that mentality comes from, but you see it in like the Fortune 500s. I got a buddy that every day he fights that. He's like, yo, if you don't get someone a title bump every 6 months, they quit.
Yeah.
But it's like, but they go, the next job, they try to get a title, they try to get a title, they try to get a title. And it's like, in the long run, you have to work 40 years or more, Kane, unless you got some money. And people don't think about the long game anymore. They burn their career out at 35, 36 years old, not realizing they got another 20 years to work. And you know how much money they leave on the table?
Right.
I'm gonna screw my career up right now to get a couple extra thousand. These types of moves now might end up costing you $40,000, $50,000 a year when you're 50, 55 years old. So,
Yeah.
anyways, this is the way we think, right? Not just the way.
Well, there was that investment bank too. Can you remember that story where they were saying like the whole purpose of getting people to work 70 hours a week is so that you can shorten the time frame it takes for people to become masters at whatever that function was. I don't remember. But like if even the most competitive industries, the goal isn't to overwork everybody. The goal is to get everybody in as short a time possible, as close to mastery as possible, so that they can go and run on their own two legs. And that's the goal.
I mean, that's wasn't I. I'm probably screwing the author of that. Wasn't that one of Gladwell's books where you need like the 10,000 hours?
Right, right, right.
Well, if you're only working 2,000 hours a year, it's going to take you 5 years.
Right.
If you're working 3,000 hours a year, oh, all of a sudden we cut that in half.
Yeah.
And I think even to a point, and don't quote me on this, some of the people I know that were doctors, they spend a hell of a lot of time trying to get as much experience as possible so they don't have to wait until they're 45 years old to finally become a doctor.
Yeah.
It's get in the field and get as much exposure as possible. And that's the investment banks, is there is work to do, but 40 hours a week versus 70 hours a week, it's that's 30 hours more. And I'm not saying keeping a chair warm, Kane. I'm talking about you're in the mix for 70 hours. That much more conversation, experience, and it accelerates. So I did that when I was in consulting, when I was in the tech world. I tried to get as much exposure to things as I could, and I worked a lot because I didn't want to. If I could find a way to get somewhere in 2 years that it takes most people in 5, that's my goal. So now we want to go backwards, and now we want to work 32 hours a week. Well, now it's going to take you even longer to master that craft. But people don't want to think about that. So again, this conversation's for people that are trying to get somewhere.
Yep.
It's okay to just go to work, do your job, and go home. I got no complaints about that. If you're trying to get somewhere faster, if you're trying to get to the top, this conversation's for you. Oh my God, number 5. If there's a single piece of advice or insight I could give to anyone in my life, I don't know if you ever noticed on TV, every manager is a piece of trash. And every company, every corporation's a greedy, criminal like company, and they're all terrible. And then you listen to your parents complain about their managers. when you go to college, and there's a similar sentiment. And okay, I've talked to people that never even had a job, and they're already complaining about a job, their first job, that they haven't even started yet, complaining about their manager. I'm like, you don't even work for this person yet. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
We've been programmed to like just hate our managers and hate the company. Then you go in with that attitude, and then you don't make it, and you can't figure out why. And sit back and say, do you want to make your manager's life more difficult or easier? And you figure out which one helps your career better. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. It's a simple question.
It's not rocket science. I can think about how many, friends and family I coached over the year. They always complain their managers are micromanagers. And I'm like, so you always get your work done on time? Well, they're like, well, no. And I'm like, all right, so you're not getting your work done on time, and then you get mad when your manager checks in. Well, they don't have to do that. I'm like, yeah, but their manager is asking them why the work's not done. And what are they supposed to say? Well, I didn't know because I didn't check in with my employee. Like, this is a dumb conversation, King.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, so you get your work done on time. Do you have customer complaints? Well, yeah. Like,
unbelievable.
Yeah, but this is the conversation. You don't get your work done on time. You have customer complaints, or your work is sloppy. It's the manager's job to make sure you get your work done on time. You're making the customers happy, and your work's not sloppy. So anytime there's accountability, people will say that's micromanaging. Okay, I don't know anyone that got their work done on time, that did their work well, and they get left alone. They just get left alone. No, even bad managers know not to screw with those people. Go do your thing, man. Go do your thing. So you make your manager's life more difficult when they have to check in on you because they can't trust you to get it done. It's not because they have trust issues. It's because you probably burnt them before.
Yeah.
And Ken, just like when you're sitting down at dinner and you're talking to managers and directors and executives at these big companies, they got so many stories about how they got screwed. It's their job to make sure things get done right. Mm-hmm. So if you make your manager's life easier, get to work and say, I'm here to help. We're not enemies. I'm going to get my work done. And then if I have extra time, what else can I do? How can I help? What can I knock out? Be that go-to person and watch how fast your career climbs.
Yeah. Be that employee that you wish you had if you were the manager.
I'll tell you, nothing changes somebody's viewpoint on things is when they become a manager or they start their own company.
It's so true.
Because all of a sudden, people congregate together. One of the first jobs I had in the automotive world, the complainers would always go out by this fence and smoke cigarettes back when like smoking was big. And they always congregated together and they would complain. They complain. How many of those people do you think went anywhere? None of them. And it's just like, there's a different, who are you congregating with? Are you grouping up with the people at the bottom? Are you grouping up with the people at the top who are like killing stuff, who are looked at as the leaders, the smart ones? Look at your group and say, who am I with? And it's not that hard to figure out, but you can be that person that's always trying to dodge work, or you can get your work done, raise your hand and ask for more. That's making your manager's life easier. And it's one of those things that if you do these 5 things, you think about how much further ahead you are than the average person in the workforce.
Miles.
Just, think about what your manager wants and give it to them and watch what happens. It's pretty amazing when you don't spend all your time trying to like fight the company and fight your manager all the time. It's show up and do good work, be a team player and try to help the place grow and watch what happens.
Yeah. I mean, also we go back to number 3 just briefly, like how good is it to feel like, not only are you investing your time in something worthwhile when you really put all your effort into work, but when you invest in yourself too, I mean, it becomes this like nice, well-rounded pie where you're investing in all the things that matter over a 40-year career, that where you can look out and say, you know what, I'm going to be in a place that I want to be.
Again, personally, I'm someone that's always trying to learn, even if it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
mean I'm trying to make more money. It's like you just keep stacking that experience and knowledge on top of each other. And now it just becomes this huge, just knowledge bank of things. Like you can do anything,
Mm-hmm.
but you can't just wake up tomorrow and just say, I'm going to do this in 4 hours. This is 20 years of reading and getting my hands on stuff, right?
Right.
It's a culmination at the end of the day. And I think now's the time to start if you haven't already done that. There's always
Agreed.
another, yeah, there's always another book to read, another class to take. There's a piece of software you could download and play with today. Um, there's so many things you could do that will end up benefiting you in the long run. But you can't wait 10 years and go, okay, now I'm going to start. Imagine what you could have already gathered from a knowledge base standpoint over a decade. It's tremendous.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, that's our top 5 career sites of 2022. Technically not rocket science, but it just goes against some of the things you're seeing on social media. But sit back and pick a couple of these and figure out how to get those things executed. Maybe 2023, you're in a whole different position. But that's all we got for this one. We'll catch you on the next one.